Before soft pillows, cozy blankets, and memory foam mattresses that promised to change your life forever, there was a patch of dirt, not exactly five-star sleeping. Tonight, let's travel back tens of thousands of years, long before cities, kingdoms, or even written history. Imagine a world where there were no houses, no bedrooms, and definitely no signs hanging on cave walls saying, "Please be quiet. Someone is sleeping." For our prehistoric ancestors, nighttime was not just the end of the day. It was often the most dangerous part of it. As the sun slowly disappeared below the horizon, the whole world changed. The bright, familiar landscape became a place full of strange sounds and moving shadows. Every rustle in the bushes could mean the wind, or it could mean something with very large teeth. If you ever stayed awake because you heard a strange noise outside your window, you already have something in common with people who lived 40,000 years ago. The difference is that your mystery noise is probably a neighborhood cat. There could have been a hungry cave lion. That changes the bedtime mood quite a bit. Most early humans did not sleep in permanent homes. They rested wherever they could find shelter. Sometimes that meant caves. Sometimes it meant simple huts made from branches, animal skins, or grass. Many groups moved often, following animals and changing seasons. Home was wherever today's camp happened to be. The ground was hard. The weather was unpredictable. Rain could arrive without warning. Cold nights could make sleeping almost impossible. Insects certainly did not care if someone was trying to get a good night's rest. There were no thick mattresses to soften the earth, no heated blankets, no fluffy pillows waiting at the end of a long day. A pile of leaves was considered pretty fancy. Even with these uncomfortable conditions, our ancestors still needed sleep. Their bodies worked just like ours. Muscles needed rest. Brains needed recovery. Memories formed during sleep, just as they do today. But falling asleep was only half the challenge. Staying asleep was much harder. Scientists believe that prehistoric people probably slept in groups. There was safety in numbers. Families gathered close together around campfires, sharing warmth and protection. Sleeping near others meant there were more ears to hear danger and more eyes to notice movement. The fire itself became one of humanity's greatest nighttime inventions. It gave warmth during freezing nights. It scared away many predators. It provided a small circle of light in an otherwise endless darkness. Still, the fire could not solve every problem. Someone usually had to stay awake. This may have been one of the earliest forms of the night watch. While others slept, one or two members of the group remained alert, adding with the fire and watching for danger. Later, they could sleep while someone else took over. Imagine drawing the short straw every evening. Congratulations. Everyone else gets to dream peacefully. You get to stare into darkness and hope nothing with claws shows up. Not exactly relaxing. This kind of shared responsibility may explain something interesting about human sleep today. Even now, many people wake up briefly during the night without remembering it. Sleep is not always one long, perfect stretch. Our brains naturally check our surroundings from time to time. Thousands of years ago, that tiny moment of waking could have saved your life. Another big difference was light. Today, we can flip a switch and turn night into day. Streetlights glow outside. Phones shine into our faces. Televisions quietly play in the background. Prehistoric people had none of this. When the sun went down, darkness arrived quickly. Aside from moonlight, stars, and the campfire, there was almost no light at all. Because of this, their internal body clocks were probably much more connected to nature than ours. As daylight faded, the brain began producing melatonin, the hormone that helps us feel sleepy. Sunrise signaled it was time to wake again. Their daily rhythm followed the sky. But that does not mean everyone instantly fell asleep every evening. There were still many reasons to stay awake. A crying baby, an approaching storm, a nearby animal making strange sounds, an injury that made it painful to lie down, or perhaps simple worry. We often think of prehistoric humans as living only from one meal to the next, but they almost certainly worried about tomorrow. Would there be enough food? Would the hunting trip succeed? Would another group appear nearby? Would winter arrive early? These thoughts may not have sounded exactly like modern anxiety, but uncertainty has always kept human minds busy. The human brain has been very good at imagining problems for a very long time. Seasons also shape sleep in ways we rarely experience today. During long summer days, people may have stayed active well into the evening before finally resting. During winter, darkness lasted much longer. Cold weather encouraged longer periods of rest, although finding enough food remained a constant challenge. Life moved with the rhythm of nature instead of clocks. There were no alarm clocks buzzing at 6 in the morning, no calendar reminders, no emails waiting to be answered, only sunrise. Researchers who study traditional hunter-gatherer societies today have found something surprising. Many groups do not actually sleep much longer than modern people. Instead, they often sleep in different patterns. Some go to bed several hours after sunset. Others wake naturally before dawn. Throughout the night, someone in the group is usually awake. In fact, studies suggest there may have rarely been a moment when everyone slept at once. Someone was almost always watching. This shared pattern made the whole group safer. It also reminds us that sleeping through the entire night without waking may never have been the universal human experience we often imagine. Perhaps our ancestors accepted nighttime waking as perfectly normal. If they opened their eyes for a few minutes, they simply listened to the fire crackle, watched the stars above, checked that everything was safe, and drifted back to sleep. No panic, no checking the time, no worrying about having only 4 hours left before the alarm. Mostly because alarms had not been invented yet. As thousands of years passed, humans slowly built villages, invented farming, and created permanent homes. Nights became a little safer. Beds slowly became more comfortable. Doors replaced open camps. Walls kept out wind and many unwanted visitors. But one visitor never completely disappeared: sleeplessness. Even as life became easier in some ways, people continued lying awake beneath the stars, wondering when sleep would finally come. And as our journey continues into the world's first great civilizations, we will discover that many believe those restless nights were not caused by fear at all. They believed the gods might be trying to say something. As villages grew into cities, and cities became kingdoms, people gained something wonderful. They had roofs. That may not sound very exciting today, but after thousands of years of sleeping wherever you could find shelter, a sturdy home was a real luxury. Still, even behind thick mud brick walls, sleep remained a mystery. Our next stop is ancient Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization. This land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers gave the world some of its first cities, some of its first kings, and perhaps most importantly for our story, some of its first written thoughts about sleep. Finally, people began writing down what happened during the night, and what they wrote is fascinating. If someone in Mesopotamia could not sleep, they usually did not blame stress from work or too much afternoon coffee. Coffee would not arrive for thousands of years. Instead, many believe that restless nights came from something far more powerful: the gods. To the people of Mesopotamia, sleep was not simply a time when the body rested. It was a doorway between the human world and the divine one. During sleep, the walls between earth and heaven seemed a little thinner. Dreams were messages. Important dreams could guide kings, warn armies, or reveal the future. So, if sleep refused to come at all, that could also mean something. Perhaps a god wanted your attention, or perhaps you had somehow upset one. That is quite a bit more dramatic than blaming your uncomfortable pillow. The people of Mesopotamia worshipped many gods, each connected to different parts of life. There were gods for storms, rivers, wisdom, love, farming, and even writing itself. Naturally, they believed these powerful beings could also influence the night. A strange dream might carry a warning. A peaceful dream might be a blessing. A sleepless night could be a sign that unseen forces were at work. This belief made nighttime feel both exciting and a little frightening. Imagine waking up at midnight and thinking, either I forgot to close the window or the gods are trying to send me a message. That certainly gives you something to think about. Luckily, the people of Mesopotamia believed there were ways to improve the situation. If someone suffered from repeated sleepless nights, they might visit a temple. These temples were much more than places for worship. They also served as centers of learning, healing, and advice. Priests acted as religious leaders, but they also filled roles that today might belong to doctors, counselors, and scholars. If you described a troubling dream or many nights without sleep, a priest would listen carefully. Not because they were judging you. They were trying to understand what the gods might be saying. Dream interpretation became a respected skill. Clay tablets discovered by archaeologists contain long lists explaining what certain dreams might mean. Dream about flying? It could mean one thing. Dream about water? Something else entirely. Dream about losing your sandals? That might have had its own meaning too. Ancient dream dictionaries were surprisingly detailed. Of course, not every restless night was blamed on the gods. Sometimes the problem was thought to be much darker. Many Mesopotamians believed in evil spirits or demons that wandered after sunset. These beings were blamed for illness, bad luck, nightmares, and disturbed sleep. The night was their favorite time. If someone woke suddenly in fear, had terrifying dreams, or simply could not rest, people sometimes believe an unwanted spirit had come too close. That sounds frightening to us today. But remember, every culture tries to explain things it cannot fully understand. Today we might talk about anxiety, stress hormones, or sleep disorders. For thousands of years ago, invisible spirits made just as much sense. To keep these unseen dangers away, families often placed protective objects inside their homes. Small statues stood near doors. Amulets were worn around the neck. Special prayers were spoken before bedtime. Incense filled rooms with sweet-smelling smoke. The goal was simple: create a peaceful place where both people and friendly gods would feel welcome. Some of these bedtime habits might sound surprisingly familiar. Many people today still enjoy calming routines before sleep. Perhaps we light a scented candle, read a book, listen to soft music, drink herbal tea. The details have changed. The idea has not. Humans have always searched for ways to tell their busy minds, it's safe now. You can rest. Ancient Mesopotamian healers also used plants as medicine. Clay tablets describe mixtures made from herbs, oils, seeds, and other natural ingredients. Some remedies were practical. Others mixed medicine with religious rituals, showing that science and faith were not separated the way they often are today. A healer might prepare an herbal mixture while also speaking protective prayer. Both were considered important. Modern researchers have even found that some plants used in ancient remedies contain ingredients that can have calming effects. Not every treatment worked. Of course, history is full of creative medical ideas. Some were surprisingly clever. Others probably tasted terrible and accomplished very little besides making you wish you had simply stayed awake. One thing is clear, though: people cared deeply about sleep. Kings certainly did. Several rulers recorded important dreams that influenced their decisions. Before major battles or difficult choices, dreams were taken seriously. A king who experienced unusual nights might ask priests for guidance before making plans for the entire kingdom. Imagine your country's biggest decision depending on what someone dreamed after dinner. History has taken stranger turns. For ordinary people, nighttime followed a quieter rhythm. Families gathered inside their homes after sunset. Oil lamps gave only a small amount of light, so evenings were calm compared to our brightly lit nights today. Conversations slowed. Children became sleepy. Outside, the streets grew dark. Without electric lights, the stars filled the sky with astonishing brightness. The Milky Way stretched overhead like a glowing river, reminding everyone that the world was much bigger than the walls around them. Perhaps those brilliant skies also encouraged people to think about the gods watching from above, and perhaps that made every sleepless night feel even more meaningful. The people of Mesopotamia did not see insomnia simply as a problem to solve. Sometimes it was a mystery to understand, a conversation between heaven and earth. As our journey continues, we will travel to another great civilization along another mighty river. There, sleep will become wrapped in magic, sacred rituals, protective charms, and one very unusual kind of pillow. Welcome next to ancient Egypt, where even bedtime had a touch of magic.